Welcome to the Infinite Creative Podcast. My name is Sean, and my hombre over here is
Fitz, or Michael Christopher Fitzgerald. But welcome.
a man of many names. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. We're going to talk about a lot of interesting topics today. One of them being a little bit of a typographic thing with the government, and then we're going to lead that right into a very fun thing we all love to talk about: the recession. So, I'm going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and kick it off if it's okay.
Wait a minute. What do you mean with typography? So how nerdy do we get now?
Yeah, so on a scale
check this
from
mug out.
Oh, look who got a mug. Where'd you get that mug? That looks really
I
cool.
think it was the Creative Infinite Podcast website. Just kidding.
Oh.
Sean always says the website wrong, the name wrong, so I'm like, it's the infinitecreativepodcast.com, and I got the mug from there. Should buy one if you have some money.
You really should. And this one it's not even misspelled. I didn't even put it out of, so it's actually spelled right on there in order. The words are in order. So, but they're great bugs. Get one, everybody. He even got one. So come on, you got to get one. But let's go ahead. Let's jump right in. I'm going to share this. So recently, there was a feud at the State Department where they picked a new font. So pretty much for, I think since it's got to be the early 1900s, they've been using Times New Roman. Now Times existed before Times New Roman, so Times New Roman came probably in the 80s, 90s, but they're switching from this font over to a new font. Which
is the new one? I'm very curious now.
This is the old font. So this is Times New Roman. So it's a serif font. So serif for everyone out there that has the little feet and ears on all the letters. So it kind of gives it that old school look. It was used a lot for a long time, and then so when you see sans serif, it means that it's without the serif. So it's going from. Oh, go ahead.
Wait, before you show. So I have a prediction. So back in the day, everything was very artsy, finicky, and that makes it more hard to read. So I'm expecting now, without seeing it or hearing about the topic at all, totally unprepared as I am, it's more simplistic, easier to read?
In terms of
I want to see
readability
it.
and legibility. So now the new one, actually let me do this real quick. So the new one will be So the new one will be Calibri, which is a sans serif font. So it's so you lose those ears, you lose the feet. Now what's interesting in typographic world is there's kind of a debate of, while sans serifs are easier to read, they have been known to be more legible. That's why if you go on the highway, you'll see Helvetica. Actually, they use a different font that was created for the highway system. But those are all sans serif. Bathroom signs are always sans serif. You'll always see that. So it's funny that it's taken this long, but now they're doing a big government shift to accessibility. The whole reason for this is to get towards accessibility. So even the government themselves is worrying about accessibility, and we need to make our type more legible and readable. So I thought that was a very interesting thing that now the entire kind of military government complex is going to ban Times New Roman and
Comic Sans.
Forcing
Easy
everyone
to read.
into...
We're going to nuke your country in Comic Sans.
Hey, it's definitely memorable. But so they're switching this new font. So I just wanted to update everyone. We've talked about accessibility in the past. So the government themselves, I guess now, is going to start to really care about this. They're going to start to switch up their fonts, which I think is a pretty interesting thing. I
think that's also very interesting because with that easier to read font, it's very round, and very round means usually friendly, comfortable. You associate a lot of things with shapes. And if something is sharp and finicky, then it feels more government. It's not like the government is we give you a little bit of leeway. They're really by the books. So I'm I don't even know if that matches them and how it should be, what should be the perception of the government. Should it be a fun and, because even if they want to be more accessible, or however you say it again, the words that they use, the language that they use, the grammatic that they use is still not easy to understand, or, because everything is we got to make sure everything is very specific and not bendable, and so it's kind of weird. So I nearly think it's not really matching the thing anymore then with the new font.
Well, yeah, like it's funny because you're almost talking about it like a brand point of view, which is
Yes.
interesting because the old font's cool because it's has this timelessness to it. Anything with like serifs has this like old kind of engraved in stone type of feel to it, and then
Yeah.
going to this, it's more. What's interesting is back in the early 1900s there was sans serif, so there wasn't Calibri, but there was stuff like it, and it was funny because it was regarded in the design world as very ugly, like of the ugliest types of fonts in the world. So it was actually kind of banned back in the early 1900s, and most companies to not even use sans serifs because it was viewed as ugly, it was viewed as cold, and it's funny that now it's almost the complete opposite. Like people are very they gravitate towards, like you said, these kind of softer, rounder fonts, and then those kind of old school fonts people are kind of against in that way. So you're right, on a branding level, it's really interesting. I think it's kind of funny because I actually view the government and military process as a sans serif typeface, where it's just cold and rigid and
hard.
So,
yeah. Where the other one is like, oh, la-di-da, easy peasy, friendly. Would be like if they put like some emotes in there too,
yeah. So I mean, this one's like a little bit friendlier, but even Calibri is like not the friendliest of sans serifs. It's kind of one of those cold, old school Windows typefaces from the 80s, early 90s. So even while it's maybe a little bit more friendly, it's still very cold and generic and has that cool generic government feeling to it. So I just think it was very interesting. The whole government kind of, I know it's been in the typography world that it's kind of a big deal when the government or this kind of a huge institution kind of moves this direction on a font. So so all of you out there in the government jobs, you better get ready. No more Times New Roman. Changes are coming. But so that's all.
I think like now. Yeah, I think like now we should jump right into the main topic that everybody's like basically talking about. Let's. Did I actually close it? Yeah, I probably closed it. But yeah, it is the financial crisis. We are hitting our debt ceiling, and I should obviously edit this one out. Debt ceiling, U.S. Treasury.
We don't edit around here, everybody.
Oh, I do. The last episode was a lot of editing.
That's true. There was a little edit of me in the last episode.
Yeah, so basically what happens is like the government runs like a budget, and the problem if you have a budget and you have bills to pay and things to buy, you can run out of it, and the bills are still coming, what is very relatable as a citizen. And yeah, it's kind of funny. Now we're talking from the fonts and the government, about the government having the new friendly font while they're like, oh, by the way, we're going kind of bankrupt theoretically, but yeah, we're using a friendly font now.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like my whole career. Yeah, we're over here worrying about the fonts while we're going bankrupt.
Well, you should send it in a nice font when you say we like to your guys. I'm like, oh yeah, we don't have the rent money this month, but hey.
I went ahead and changed the font on the lease agreement. It looks much better now. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, overall, I think like today they're actually running out of money, or tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure, and I think they have to decide if they push it farther out, and if they don't, and they just hit and they default on all the money they owe and all that. Then basically Social Security and credit cards and everything will go through the roof. And we're already at a point through COVID where everything goes through the roof. So this could be potential. The next 2 days could be the start of a new nightmare, like a financial crisis. Or it could be like just the slow and easy smooth into this new era, because like inflation is still happening, everything still gets more expensive, supply chain issues, yada yada yada. We're not completely over the hill, and it seems like it's more like a smooth and graduate thing. But if they make the wrong decision right now, it could be like, okay, we're speed running this. What maybe is a good move to just recover, and like, okay, let's have 1 or 2 shitty years and then we're back to normal, versus like draw it out for 10 years. But nobody knows what's going to happen, and nobody knows what's the best way. So that's how we are in this situation. What are your thoughts on that, Sean?
Run! No, I think, I do want to kind of make a little bit of prediction that I think we're definitely heading into a recession. I haven't really been convinced that we're not going to be running into a recession. But yeah, to kind of just second kind of the news story of, Yeah, she's so our Treasury Secretary, she's already come out and said that they've had to do these kind of, I'm not even sure what these are, but they've had to do these extraordinary circumstances already behind the scenes to kind of at least put this off till June. I don't know what any of those things mean, but so a lot of the financial people are saying that, yeah, if we and this all really came, we try not to get too deep in politics here, but McCarthy recently just became the House Speaker. And through that, he had to make all these concessions to the extremists in order to even get voted in. And so by him doing that now, he's put all these people on financial committees and things that have already said that they're going to stop everything. They're unhappy with how much money is being spent. And so there really is going to be this kind of freeze up, it seems like, where we are going to hit that debt ceiling. And like you said, you lose Social Security. We're going to lose a lot of the government programs. Things like food stamps and things are going to at least slow down. So I'm not exactly sure what all the programs are. I know Social Security is the big one, which I know my parents definitely depend on. But yeah, once you do that, if those things do actually shut down, I mean, I know I have to make some really intense decisions with my parents really quickly, right, to keep them in their home and things like that.
So that brought me onto a topic, like I saw a video about that and I was like Googling, what should I do when that hits? And, and basically if they did default on their payments, basically everything like treasure bonds and all that stuff is basically not getting paid out. And what you should do is invest in anything that is anti-government. Like in that case, Bitcoin. I'm like, wait a minute. If the dollar is just getting more and more worthless exponentially, and the one thing is holding its value way better, obviously that's not financial advice right now, but this is just a thought that I had because I forgot already what video I watched, but basically it's like, yeah, you kind of have to invest in companies that are not really bound to like treasures and, bonds and all that stuff. And I'm like, that would be one of the ways how you could invest basically right now and it would still hold the value better. And I think like Bitcoin is right now at an uptrend. What is weird? Not that it's like, but could be, just saying. Yeah, what's your thought on that? How would you prepare for that financial crisis? And I don't know.
Well, and I'll say the same thing. We're not giving any financial advice on this podcast. We're two knuckleheads that are barely keeping our heads above water. So anyone out there, do not take this as legal or financial advice from us. I'm kind of an old school. I invested before a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon in 2020. And where I've been investing for the last 10 years. And so I think in the last 10 years, what have I learned in investing? Losing and gaining money. Really, it's kind of been a wash for me. But what I've learned is zig when they zag, right? So like what you had just said about, the cryptocurrency is probably going to go up while this recession happens. Again, that's out of focus. I could see that.
It's Bitcoin. I just bought Bitcoin.
You just bought Bitcoin during the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, he's making financial decisions right now.
I just had an idea and executed. Sometimes you got to be fast and you got to do the zigzag. Because, depending on what the news is, it could really implode theoretically or make a lot of money.
Well, I don't know. And what you just did, I think is okay, but I would caution everyone. That impulse buy thing, I would be very careful of.
It leads to a lot of credit card debt, too.
So what I was saying is, so you would think that get Bitcoin once this recession happens, but I would actually say get government bonds because guess what? They're going to be nasty and they're going to be really low and the money. So that's when you buy. So buy cheap, right? So really, when you should have bought Bitcoin is when the FTX went down. That's when you should have got Bitcoin. Was that day. Wait for the drops. That's what a lot of people don't really realize is they just follow the trend and it's like, oh God, the recession happens. That means I need to buy Bitcoin. It's like, yeah, but you're not as smart as the guy in New York who's been watching it every day. He's already on it. The price has already skyrocketed. So what I would say is, the day that the recession happens, buy bonds. I'm sure they're going to be real cheap. That's the day you buy into it. So zig when they zag is what I would say.
Zig when they zag. Now it's like the whole point is like, when do they say zig and when do they say zag and who said it first and what, you can't be just like you zag when they zag just because you think you zig when they zag, and this is very confusing. But
and don't put all your stuff in piles. I mean, I think it's what a lot of people learned with FTX and a lot of the just the investing in 2020, all the just kind of what was it, GameStop and all of that stuff is don't put everything on any investment.
Yeah, you know how I actually got to that topic today? So I do my business banking with Bank of America, and guess what they did? They and Cell basically fucked majorly up and made money disappear. And I was like getting a notification on my Bank of America card, like, oh yeah, no sufficient funds. And I'm like, what's going on? I just put money in there, and where's my money at? And the money was gone. And I'm like, what? How? And I looked the statements as it was never there. And I'm like, that kind of got me started on like that recession thing, because that looked like really like, oh, it's one of those, the bank is running out of money and doing shenanigans, kind of like in those other countries, So I was like doing some research, yada, 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 got into the whole topic. And I'm like, is that actually like one of those signs where it's like some business people pulling some moves that they shouldn't pull, but they do it anyways, because they know they maybe get away with it. And I'm like, okay. I wait till the evening, and then in the evening I got my money back, and I didn't even do anything. But major outcry, because apparently that happened like since like 3-4 days, and yeah, made the news. So now I want to switch banks. I don't know. What is your bank of choice for business? Actually,
so my business bank, I use Novo for a business bank, which essentially is BBCA Compass or whatever. So it's a lot of banks. What they've done is they started other companies that are just like new age online only banks, but they're really, what's funny is you look at who owns it and it's actually a big bank. So I think I'm with BBCA technically, but it's Novo. But yeah,
sounds
anyway,
fancy.
Yeah, it sounds fancy. It's not that fancy. But I think it's what's interesting, like, because I kind of want to give advice to kind of other creatives out here, like what let's say the recession happens, let's say all the jobs dry up, right? Let's say people get laid off. Let's say it gets as bad as 2008, right, where everything freezes, marketing budgets freeze, everything. What's something that you think, like what should creatives do? Like what lesson can we learn from 2008 that you think creatives can do today if that happens? Let's say I'm a designer today. I get let go because of the recession. What would you suggest for me?
I mean, like, the one thing that you have to be is like flexible. And sometimes I'm like, my spirit animal is a raccoon, because I'm like, I eat like trash. I'm happy in weird scenarios. I'm just like, I'm thriving in that, because if you put me in a system, I hate following systems and processes, but in business you need to do that. This is now a very weird time where like, okay, eggs are costing now nearly $9 or whatever, and there's supply chain issues, ibuprofen, supply chain issues because of like regulations and whatever. So I think like the best thing you can do is like think outside of the box and abuse the system, because like you could get some chickens, and if you have the yard or whatever, but then you get your own eggs, kind of sorta, and they now increase in value. You could sell now to your neighbors for $10 more eggs, for example. Obviously, it's not as easy as that, but there's always a creative way, especially in weird times, because nobody knows what to do, and everybody is just like quick to react and panics, And what I see mostly happening is like people making courses and selling courses. So they know they're on a sinking ship, but they're just like, hey, I bring you onto the sinking ship and I teach you how to operate the ship. It will be great, You buy that course for free, $500, and you're just like, oh, I'm motivated, I'm hyped, I'm getting out of my career, learning something new, not realizing like you're now the buffoon in the new boat that is right now going down a waterfall, And you're just like, oh, I made it, It's kind of hard, switching careers. So the best thing you can do is like triple down on, like, let's say you're an expert in cameras, recession hits, and there's cheap gear that you can use to make money. So you basically have to be very efficient with the things that you already know. So you see the deals, still have to be very calculated about making deals, because a good deal is not anymore a good deal. It's barely breaking even, because people just need the rent money right now, and it's just like they're selling anything. And you could be at that position too the next month or the month afterwards. So you need to know how that thing will make you money or could make you money, or what can you do to make more than just the money so that it's worth doing the flip. Otherwise, you will be just like in the same position as them just 1 month later. But being creative, figuring new ways out, building that course, for example, is a way.
It is. It is. It's yeah. I think it's funny that a lot of people they're kind of going to I'll sell my ideas, I'll sell my knowledge, because it's cheap. It's cheap to put out there. I don't have to get it produced or anything. But yeah, I think I agree with that. I agree with like I would suggest to people, obviously don't sell equipment that's going to handicap yourself. I've had a few times where I've had friends that they'll sell gear that they need to do their job, and it makes no sense. It's like, okay, well, you can pay rent, but like you said, then what are you going to do next month? Now you have less cameras, or now you have less gear.
Yeah.
And so, one thing I would suggest to people that I know now that I'm definitely going to take advantage of. I wasn't really around in 2008 as a professional yet, but what I would use this time around is grant money. I can't tell you how many creatives don't understand that you have grants in your own state for creative businesses. Especially,
that is also an interesting concept. You could get out a loan just to make it through the times, and obviously expect to not have business and just use the loan to pay off the money that you're just borrowed and pay rent, and try to get the money back for future gigs. But it will be a tough. It's not really financial advice, but it's just like, it's pushing the timer away, and I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but could be a good option, I think.
Yeah, and I also want to make a distinction between grants and loans. So grants, in most cases, don't need to be paid back. So it's free money. It's the government will pay you free money to keep in business. These governments, I know in Colorado, they have a creative economic fund. So there actually is money set aside every year just for creative businesses in a lot of these states. And so a lot of people just don't know this. Unless you're a grant writer, you don't know these things exist. So yet again, we live in a time of Google, right? So I would tell everyone out there that if the recession starts, and even now, if you wanted to, start to just see what are some of the grants in your home state. You'd be surprised what's out there. That's something this last year that really came to my mind, was like, whoa, like I could go for grant money. I can go for free things.
So here's the question though. If the U.S. Treasury Department defaults, will they be affected of that? Because like that could change a lot. You know what I mean? Theoretically,
good point.
Yeah. So where I'm like, I don't know if they would just like, okay, we're taking whatever money we have to just like pay off whatever we can, but it will be not enough because we're forced by law now, and instead of pushing it away again.
Well,
how high the debt ceiling is right now? How high is the debt ceiling?
No, $64 trillion. But yeah, the thing is I really think that even if, let's say, the grant programs kind of start to shut down, let's say, the government will insert money into the economy to get it going again. So if you look at 2008, Obama inserted money to get the economy going again. So I think that would happen here too, where there would be new grant incentives, new programs that would come out because they don't want the economy to shut down.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's also like kind of interesting as a business owner, and same for you. But I'm also like selling a physical product, and I'm like, it is tough to make sales now. And like in the beginning, I didn't have to do anything, and now it's like I'm still getting some sales, but it's not as nice as it was. Obviously it would be nice. And I'm just like, what is now the move? Produce more and just sell and hope that it sells, or go hard and invest in it, or just like keep it as is and just like try to make as much money as I can with it, or expand, So I wrote into my to-do list basically, hustle hard, advertise hard, and basically go into a full mindset of hustling, where I'm like, right now I'm a little bit too laid back, and it's like I feel like it's like when shit hits a fan, everything gets separated, the strong from the weak, kind of, sort of, So this is a moment where, like, if you have the right mindset, and you push really through it, you can make a lot of money, or just not make a lot of money, but just be safe, versus, like, you just completely default, and it was the worst time of your life, versus, like, that was a kind of shitty section, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think a good work ethic could save the month, the year, or whatever,
Yeah. Well, I think you're 100% right on that. Where you have to keep working. I mean, that's the thing is, don't get so depressed that you stop moving, you stop working. I think it's all about also like building that cushion for yourself. So for we're having this conversation now, and when this episode comes out, it's not like the recession's going to happen then. Like I said, they're kind of pushing it off to June, but this is kind
some
of
say
everyone's
actually we're
alert,
already.
Like,
one.
well, yeah, and I don't think. Well, and that's the thing is, we could be in a recession before someone calls it that. That does happen, where there could be like we could be in it right now, but I don't think we are right now. I think we're about to enter one. But what I would tell people is that get prepared now. Let's just assume in June it falls apart. Let's just assume it, because the worst case scenario, you have extra money sitting around in June, and now you can buy equipment or you can move it around. But that's what I would tell everyone right now watching this. Is I know that's what I'm doing. Even with my accountant the other day, is we're just gonna get my budget pretty much. We're gonna be really close to zero, but it's like, let's make sure we can pay the taxes this year. Let's make sure we put in enough money away just to keep the business running, even if it's at a very low level. So we've already had that talk of like, what is the lowest level I can run this business? How cheap can I run this? Do I get rid of all the Adobe products, go to free stuff? Do I do all this stuff, but do I then pay my $125 with the state every year to keep the business going, and that's it, and then just keep it kind of, so we're already having those discussions. And I would tell people, not everyone has an accountant or anyone to talk to, but I would say start to have those discussions at least with yourself. Already have that plan. So in June, if I lose my job, where are we at? And start to plan for that now. Get that cushion, because it's just like any disaster. You got to be prepared. I would not even say
cushion, because like some people are in a hot spot already. Everybody is nearly month to month. It's not like that there is cushion. Or, it's like, what can I sell that is not required to just like make it net zero? That's at least like for me. Like it's not like if I run my business, I will be next month plus 1,000, at net zero, whatever. So it's like there's no cushion for me, at least. So I'm like, everything I'm seeing is like, I need to get rid of that weight. And there's a lot of that weight because I'm comfortable. And I'm like, I could have the gym membership that I don't use around, because it's nice to have. And I could go next week or today or whatever. Obviously, I'm not going. So I'm like, I'm carrying a lot of that weight with me, and I'm also like being lazy, what is also that weight, and that is basically causing a lot of issues. So I'm basically should think less and get more rid of that weight, like the subscription of like that I don't use or doesn't do anything for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and I think a lot of us have that. It's funny how many people I talk that are our age that are like, oh, I have no money, man. And then once we start to dive into it, I'm like, yeah, but you get food delivered every day, and then you do this and you do that, and you have a gym membership. It's like, actually, you have like $600 you're wasting every single month.
Yeah.
So
that is also like a thing that you should do right now. Is like come up with a budget, and see what is actually your physical budget. Write everything down, every expensive, every interest payment, every subscription that you have, basically everything, and then be like, absolutely necessity or nice to have or must have. Like there's obviously a range of things that you maybe require that's maybe nice to have, and I think like you have to have like a really good bookkeeping. I think from now on, at least for a couple more months, to see what is actually really, really needed to do your job at a minimum or like at a decent level, and then just get rid of everything else, because like it's not the time where you can carry a lot of that weight, because you maybe have to buy something because it's a good deal, and if you don't do it, you basically miss out on that opportunity. It's like, it could be like, oh, I saw something, it's a good deal, would be perfect flip, I don't really need it, but it's an opportunity, somebody's selling something that I can buy on a budget, I maybe can even haggle it down, and then that guy can pay his rent, but I can still do my job and buy the same thing that I already have, but I flip it, And that type of stuff will keep you longer around than like, just running around and not flipping, Because like that's one of those necessities, like flipping gear, at least knowing the market value and the real value, and just like taking advantage of all the opportunities, because like obviously this is a rough time where a lot of people default on a lot of things and they have to sell. And there's a lot of things where you can basically take advantage of, and you should take advantage of, because somebody else will.
Yes and no. I would say I agree, but with a grain of caution. If you're not a master salesman, if your business isn't selling gear, if your business isn't flipping things, you're a novice. And so I would tell everyone out there,
you need to be an expert. You need an expert in the niche. Whatever you do as a profession, you need to be an expert, know what the value is, what it's new, used, and that is very important. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
So I would caution, if you don't have the money to play with, don't play with the money. A lot of people, yet again, if we're going back into investing, don't invest with the money that you're going to live on. So I would caution. I would say, yeah, take advantage of these things, but maybe now's the time when I say create that cushion. Maybe you create a separate account in your bank that's for the flipping, right? And then when you put that money in, you say, I'm willing to lose all of this because I very well may. I may make some bad decisions. It's when everyone mixes all in the pot, right? When your rent is over here with the gear, which is over here with the subscriptions, which is over here with your memberships, and over here with the fast food, and everything's in this big pot. That's when you can really screw yourself up. So one thing that I've done, and I've actually walked a few people in person and had them kind of recreate their structure based on what I do, is I actually have the max amount of accounts my bank will let me open. Because I have an insurance account, I have a rent account, what I do is I push everything into these accounts, because when you put everything in one melting pot, your mind can't keep up with all the stuff. So I would tell everyone out there that, if you start to play with your money to try to make more money, that's not a bad thing, but you should separate it out. I would not have that be part of the rent, have that be part of the groceries. You never want that moment where you open up the bank account and you're like, oh crap, I just lost money on that, and that was my rent money.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting concept. I kind of have the same thing. I go like by saying, like a squirrel is hiding the food in the summer and it does not know where the food is. It will just randomly search at certain spots in the winter. Like, did I borrow down there like some nuts? And that's like how I kind of do my business. Like, instead of having multiple accounts on one bank account, I have multiple accounts in different banks, So it's like, it's really hard to, now I have to sign in this bank account, and I can't, if you're in that one bank account and you see everything, it's still there, you know about it, but it's nice to forget that you have money in a certain spot that you don't really need, but it's meant to be like the savings account, like we'll have multiple savings account, like tucked away, and the harder it is to get to the money, the easier it is to keep the money, basically. And that's like my thing. Like I basically borrow a bunch of nuts. Yeah, that digging down and then put. Yeah.
Borrow? Yeah.
Bury some nuts everywhere, and then hope I find them back, and hope I don't lose my money.
Yeah, and there's times that I've done that too, and I'd rather make that mistake, right, where I accidentally find money that I put away that I forgot there. I love that mistake more than the other side of the mistake, where I think there's money there and there isn't money. So I would suggest that, I would tell people too, is I think the people that did the best in 2008 were excited for 2008 to happen in a weird way, right? So so for me, example, I need a new car. I drive an old car. Anyone that knows me, I drive a real old car, and I've been thinking about getting a new car for a long time. I'll probably need to get a small car loan to do that. Should I do it now? Probably not. The interest rates are fairly high now. They kind of went up, but I kind of know recession may be coming, so I'm going to hold off on buying a car because I know the rate's going to go down. So if you
it's not going down. It's going up.
It will go up. So the way that the economy works is when the economy is going well, what they should be doing and what Trump failed to do is raise the interest rates. And the reason you do that is when things like what's about to happen and what happened in 2008, when 2008 happened, what they did to keep people taking out loans, because that's what keeps the economy moving, is people need to keep getting mortgages, taking out loans, is they'll lower the interest rate, and then that kind of adds jet fuel to the economy. So in this case, we know a recession very well may happen, so I can guarantee you that once it happens, all the rates will drop because they need to push people to buy homes and keep the economy going. And so I'm going to hold on. I could buy a car right now and get a loan, but I already know that, I think the rates are going to get better by, at some point.
So on that note, though, that is also not financial advice, but here's where I'm like being the devil's advocate, because like what I hear is like, if the Treasury is not approving the whole thing, credit card loans and all those loans will go through the roof, because like, if they don't approve it, obviously they most likely will approve it, because like basically the whole country will fail really dramatically if they don't. And that would like basically to the opposite effect that you just described, where they're like, oh yeah, we want you to take loans, so we lower the interest rates. But because if they don't do that, then the interest rates go through the roof because there's no money in the system and they want everything they can have.
If logic prevails, you would be right, but you're going to be wrong. That's the way that the economy works is going to be opposite of that. It's happened multiple times where.
I agree.
That's
I'm
their
just
instrument.
like saying,
that's what they play with.
Yeah, so that's what they are like saying if they don't approve the new debt ceiling, because with the new debt ceiling they can do the loans. Without the debt ceiling they cannot do the loans, basically, because everybody would default, basically. And then nobody wants to give loans because of that. And that is the reason why interest rates would go through the roof if they don't approve it, because like they know they don't get the monies, and it's really hard to get a loan.
And this gets a little too much inside baseball, but a lot of your rates, like your mortgage rates, your student loan rates, all those are actually based on indexes, and those indexes are actually controlled by the government. So actually, a lot of these banks, many of us think they can just play with their rates, but actually they can't. A lot of them have to be tied to these indexes. So the government actually does have a lot more control over the rates than it may appear. That the banks can just hike up their rates no matter what, willy nilly, but the government can actually force rates to go down across the board, and I think that would happen. Maybe I'm wrong. Yet again, this isn't financial advice. Sean could be wrong, and
Sean
this
may not.
This may not be exactly like 2008, right? Well, like I think
I actually have like a positive prediction, and I hope this is like a new era, because we have so many new tools, we have so many new opportunities. There's so many new unpredictable things, So it's like, I don't really think it should be like 2008. I think this should be its new and own scenario, where it's like, oh no, there's great opportunity. We just have to find and look in the right direction, and we will make plenty of money. But it's like, it's really hard to be positive looking around for opportunity if everybody's like, oh no, the ship is sinking. Like, yes and no at the same time. Like, there's good
zig when they
things.
zag. Just like I said, everyone's gonna be too scared to start a business, and start a business, get those clients.
Yeah.
I think when the going's good is when you have the most competition. Right, that's when everyone's like, "Well, I'll quit my job. I have enough money. I'll become a videographer." When like a recession happens, not everyone's going to have that mindset. Not everyone's. So that means your competition actually just got less, and the people that give up and go into a job, even less competition. So that's what I'm saying is, a lot of people may look at a recession and be like, "Oh my God, I'm screwed." But really, like, you just opened up. If you just don't see it, but there's a lot more openings now. So in a way, like, I would almost get excited if I was a creative. If there's a recession, it may seem scary. There's less money. There's less budget, but there's less competition. That's when all the weak people kind of run back to their jobs. That's when the people that were faking it
sell the gear,
kind of
basically.
run back. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're out there, like, I need to pay rent, and the camera goes, and now you're the guy with the 2 cameras, and, like, pick it up. But it's an interesting time. I don't want to talk too much about that, because we already, like, rambled now 25 minutes or so about, like, the recession. Very fun topic. On that note, what keeps Sean creative today, over the weekend? What's going on in Sean's world that is creative or...
Yeah. So some of the things, I'm going to be launching a clothing company in the next month with one of my old clients. So that's really fun. Been working on that for the last half a year. We're going to have 12 SKUs. We have about 50 to 100 inventory for each. So it's been a whole process of ramping that up. Things like shipping, taxes, kind of getting that ready, LLC, and all those fun things. So that's going to be coming up. The name of the company is going to be FUBAR. So I'm really excited.
FUBAR?
It's going to, yep.
I like that.
So. It's a military acronym for effed up beyond all recognition. It goes way back to like World War II era, but it's a super fun project. So I'm really excited to get that out. I bought a lot of canvases. They had a really great canvas sale for like 50% off on level 3 canvases. So now I have all the canvases
we don't see enough about Sean's art here. Like, to be quite honest, you do some cool art. Very geometry. I cannot talk.
Geometric.
Yeah, geometric stuff. Doing a lot of geometric stuff. Very square and fair. So I really like it, but we need to see more of it.
Yeah. Well, you too. I want to see more of these lens stands than I do. But
I have a new one actually. So because experimenting is like the
got him
goal.
Excited.
Yeah, look at that.
Ooh. Yeah, and yet again, for
New
everyone
prototype.
watching, where would I get these stands?
Etsy. Like, you hit the Etsy up at Fitzay or Lens Stands at Etsy, and I'm the only guy selling them. So should cope some and get also a mug on the way. But that is on the infinitecreativepodcast.com. Because, like, I actually really dig the mug, because there's, like, some really cool buzzwords like scheduling, workflow, textures, cameras, JavaScript, creative block.
Exactly.
I really like that. Very creative.
That's pretty much my whole day, actually. That's my schedule today. But so it's been a lot of that stuff. It's been really fun, getting the pings going, getting that going. Dungeons and Dragons is kicked up again, so that's been really fun. You've been doing MidJourney, doing that again, which has been real fun.
MidJourney.
AI art
I
for
have not
D&D.
even touched MidJourney. I'm like more so from the aspect of being useful. So far, ChatGPT is like the way. So I tested it out. I had a night where I did like a bunch of questions. Basically, put in like, write me a movie script. Write me a movie script with a nice twist. Write me some skits. Write me video ideas. And I'm like, oh boy, it works so well. Like it's crazy. Yeah, and I saved everything, but didn't do anything. So now it's like a time where it's like, how much can you execute with the questions that you ask, Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that is now the new limiting factor. Because I feel like everybody will have like a ton of new content ideas that they could do, but not everybody's executing fast enough.
All right, yeah. So with that, like, what's your next step? What's the new thing in Fitze land for this year? Like, what's your next big move that you're making?
So I had like a kind of dilemma, like I think we texted the other day and I'm like, okay, I need to have long-term plans. And right now I don't see long-term plans right now any way, shape or form. So I'm like, okay, screw that. And instead of like being like depressed of like, okay, I want to see myself in 10 years in this position. I don't even can imagine that position is still there or is viable. So I'm like, what should I do? Should I do what I do the usual? And I'm just like, yeah, let's plan everything out that I'm doing. Like I have like on Micro, I think it's called, where you can do those mood boards and whatever and graphics. I basically, So basically laid out my whole business concept like, oh yeah, Etsy shop, Shopify, YouTube, and basically built the business circle and how to promote more stuff and add to it and how to be more effective, and make everything come more full circle. Because like, I could have also a Pinterest account, with really nice setups for your lenses. That leads also to Etsy or Shopify, and then we're building a circle. You know what I mean? And you need just more of that. And like now, I'm focusing more on lens reviews. So if I make a natural SEO focused lens review, I can promote my shop. And then it comes full circle again. So the shop is providing me with money, and I just have to provide the content, and then I can use the content to put on the mood board. And I'm like planning that more out and basically defining the circle more and maybe adding more tools to my belt, even though I already have too many tools, I would say. But yeah, it's a tough choice to do,
Well, that's great. I mean, the sales channel, the sales funnel, definitely something I'm working on too. I think we both are in the same place of like, we're seeing that, you have to somehow grab people. And that's hard. I mean, even on this podcast, I think we see how hard it can be, where it's hard to just get eyeballs on the thing that you're trying to do, especially in a world where more and more people are entering our space, right? 10, 15 years ago, there was probably half as many 3D printers as there is now. And, and people making things in general. So it's like, so it's interesting. Like we have so much more competition now. That's where the competition really lies. Is we got to have these sales channels. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing the same thing as you. I'm trying to like come up with these kind of new flows. How do I get clients in?
So I feel like that is like a very important factor too. Like to improve the one product that you have, and that's basically what I did. I'm like, okay, I built the channel a little bit better and thought about different ways that I can add to it and make it more like effective. And like that kind of worked really well. So I'm like, what is the next thing I could add to have like besides a physical good, And it's like drop shipping would be nice, but it's really hard to do, especially with delivery times. Like, so it's like a very interesting concept. And I'm just like, instead of worrying, I'm like, let's make it better, faster, and be more efficient. Because like the tools that I have and the opportunities that we all have in general, they are more than enough. It's just like what you do with them, how smart can you be with them, how much planning can you do, to make it more optimized. And it's tough to do with stress, but it's still doable.
Definitely something I'm doing too is just checklists for everything, for every single thing. When I do a WordPress website design, there should be a checklist. When I do like website maintenance, there should be a checklist. When I come up with a branding package, there should be a checklist. So I'm in those places too, where I'm trying to get out of the place of reinventing the wheel. I think a lot of us creative people, we're always reinventing the wheel. Because when you were a young person and you were creative, it was a good thing to come up with new ideas all the time, to always think of new ways of doing stuff. But But as we I think we both learned as business owners, trying to do a new thing every time is just going to take away energy. It's going to take away time. And so thinking of things as products and being like, let's get that product flow to be easier and easier and easier. That's the way to go, right? So so I'm in the same place of like, I want to push the bar still, but I don't want to always be doing something brand spanking new or doing stuff where I don't have a list and I'm forgetting little things. Like with website design and website launching, there's so many little tiny details that it's so easy to miss, right?
And I mean, they matter too. They can drive so much money theoretically. Like having an email list, just having an email list for the podcast, for example, we could post on the email list new episodes and reels. And if just like 5 people click the link or whatever, that would be a better starting point for a reel to go viral because 5 more people watched it because of the email list. Obviously, it's less effective in the beginning, but if you have a system in place that's already running and is somewhat smooth and getting results, it's a game changer sometimes, just implementing little things.
Yeah, and over long periods of time, I keep having conversations with clients recently about email lists, and I kind of tell them, like, in this first year, will the email list make a huge difference? Probably not. But the clients that have been very consistent and have done 4 newsletters every year, just a newsletter every 3 months for 4 or 5 years now, have built up an organic list of 400, 500 people, and they're doing amazing. I mean, they're literally getting 20, 30 grand out of an email campaign now. So it's
and it can be it can be literally just a switch of a button. Like I have, for example, on my YouTube channel, like you can upload a bunch of videos. Some of them maybe go viral, don't go viral, doesn't really matter. But the point is you can overlay on the YouTube channel like, hey, a link to your own product. And you can just activate that link to your own product. Can be sticker, can be a lens holder. And now you have a video that gets every month 5,000 views. And maybe 1% is, or 10% are clicking on that link because the link sounds interesting, and immediately change your budget, immediately generating money just because of like, oh, you got now a link up there that you can activate on YouTube in the description, and it can lead to so much money. And it's just like oh, did not know about that. Should have put that in the bio, or should have put that in the link in the top that gets blended and animated, And it's like, it's game changing sometimes.
Oh yeah. And I'm kind of giving advice that I don't really follow that well, but yeah, doing an audit on all of your stuff every few months could be huge, right? Pull up your LinkedIn, pull up your Instagram, pull up your website, pull up everything, and see the connections that you're probably missing, right? Be like, is there a way to have my website lead people through the sales funnel? Or how's the link tree look? And should I be adding stuff to the link tree? I go to so many people's link trees these days, and there's dead links. There's things that are, so it's not only being that gung ho and I set up all these systems, because I know that feeling that day that you set it all up. You're like, man, I did a lot today, man. I could really sit back, and then they never touch it again. So it's like checking the systems too, making sure, for me right now with AI, I know you use AI a lot. I'm using AI now for my copywriting, where I'm going through now, I'm taking all my amateur copywriting and I'm putting it through AI and essentially saying, write it better. And it does. And then I put it back in. So that's what I'm doing now with a lot of my stuff. So my LinkedIn profile, even my website, where I'm taking all the text, I'm putting over an AI. I'm like, write it better than me. It does, and I put it over. And just stuff like that, freshening things up. I'm always telling my clients that, but I think we forget that too. You need to freshen it up, and it's not just your website. It's everything. It's everything.
But also on the flip side. So here's the thing. Like I know like people. Whereas, like, they don't want my servers, and I'm like, I could make you probably, like, so much money just by putting that in your description, Like, you can help so many people with that, and they don't want the help. What is the most mind-boggling thing? They sell something, they did not know that this is a possibility, and they could just implement, like, that hyperlink in the video, and it's just like, oh, yeah, YouTube allows you to do that. Obviously, it's painful to go through a video inventory of 200 videos and activate that link and write the copy for it, manually. But yeah.
Yes and no, right? Because you can do batch editing in YouTube. You can do batch editing in most places. So yeah. So no, I think and I've been thinking about that too, right? Like, because the one thing I've always needed is like marketing help, and I I almost wonder if you're out there and you're a marketer, you
That,
should really figure out a way to come up with a flow to consult people like Fitze and I. I
yeah.
mean, there's so much business there for like young creatives that would pay you $100 for an hour of your time to be like, why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing this? Did you know you could do this? Did you know you could do that?
Yeah.
Like I do website checkups. So one thing I am going to try to get into, I've been watching a lot of videos on how to cold call for emails, right? So do you use Loom or something? Do I go on your website and record a quick Loom giving you a quick review of your website? For marketing people out there, I've had people reach out on stuff, but if I was to have someone like literally look through my whole system, do a Loom and send it to me and be like, hey Sean, I'm just going to give you some free advice on this, some things you could do better. If you're comfortable paying for $100 for an hour of my time, I'll give you even more information and kind of audit your whole thing. I think there's so much to that. So if you're a marketing person out there and you kind of know those stuff, I would run with that idea if I were you.
Yeah. So there's also like ways and concepts, but I feel like there's also, you need to prepare for the thing, like it's one thing to have the idea like, hey, I can go to this person and offer him that, but it's better like when you go to that person, offer them that, you have the catalog of like, hey, this is what I can do for you for this price. These are the options, and if you prepared for that situation. So it would be better to prepare now for the situation and then go out, ask for it or offer it, and it's like one of the things that we always can do too, is like prepare for a new opportunity and just like be hyper prepared so that they were like wowed by the of the experience that they will get when they're like, oh yeah, I can do that. Whoa, cool, and that's kind of what you want,
Yeah, and even Gilna brought this up when she was on our podcast a few podcasts ago, where your first ones just do for free. If you don't feel like you're a master at these things, do them for free. You'll perfect the process as long as you take notes. Like, see where did you mess up? What could be better?
You know what she did? Yeah, sorry for interrupting you. That girl actually executed so hard. We talked on the podcast about like, hey, you should make an ebook. Guess what she did? She did make an ebook. She was like, Fitz, can you check that out? And I'm like, God damn, girl. It's just like barely a week and you're already writing on it, having the slides and all Canva. And I'm like, damn. I was like highly impressed. But you're right, like it's like, yeah, sorry for interrupting. It's bad, but yeah.
And since you brought this up, I actually wasn't going to announce this on the podcast, but you just brought up Canva. So I and I'm doing this on camera, and so you could veto this off camera. But for one of our first subscription episodes, I've decided I want to do a full walkthrough of Canva. So it'll be my first time using it, and I think that would actually be one of the good subscription episodes. Is me doing a walkthrough of making some stuff in Canva. So if any of you want to watch a grumpy designer using a tool that he's long hated, but I'm going to muscle up and maybe I'll change my tune. Maybe I'll fall in love with Canva.
Completely drunk doing the thing. Oh my God, this is Canva. Well, I'm bad actually.
There will be drinking. No, that'd be kind of fun too. So for all of you out there, we are going to be launching a subscription service. Hopefully it's up by now, by this episode going out. But if you either go to our Spotify or if you go to our Anchor, you can log in and you'll get cool episodes like that. So I just wanted to announce that. I kind of decided, I think it would be a really fun thing for people to watch as I kind of go through Canva and either vomit or get my mind changed. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, like, it would be so that is like going back to the, you have to have the back end set up, ready to roll. So when they subscribe, it will be a banger experience. For us, that would mean, like, actually already have the thing set up, post the content, so if somebody signs up, it's not empty, and then, like, have the screen recording of Sean being like drunk with 5 whiskeys in him and doing a little.
You just want to get me drunk on camera. You're just trying to destroy my career. That's all that's happening here. But so by the time this is up, we need any help we can get. So I just wanted to announce that, I think things like that would be really fun, I think. So feel free to comment below or send us a message if you think that would be cool content as we just kind of watch the first time through on this stuff, right? Because I think it's fun to see masters of Canva, but it's kind of fun to see someone's first time using these tools too. So to see like, can I make a flyer? Can I make a website in Canva? So it'll be kind of interesting.
And I mean, like, that is like a very good thing to do for us. And I feel like the future is bright. We just have to be creative and focus on the 80-20, whatever works, and double down on it. And I
agree with that. And I do want to like highlight like that again. Of like, 80% of the work, or 20% of the work is it's 80% of it's essentially easy, and 20% of it's going to be difficult. And so try to remind yourselves about that too. And when stuff's getting crazy, you can do a lot in very little. So Gilna, made her ebook. She got to that 80%. Now there's probably 20% of her getting that book to be really good, but you could do so much. You could do that 80% in one day. So So if there's a recession, if things start to fall apart, just remember that you could sprint in a direction and get a lot done. So one thing that and we could talk about this in some other podcasts too, is what I've kind of done a few years ago is I started to think of things as sprints and sprinting through stuff. And I'll even put it, when I put in my calendar, I'll put sprint because then you're thinking in your mind like, just go. Don't get caught up on the obstacles. If there's an obstacle, write it down, move on. And I think having that type of approach on stuff is what you're going to need, right? Like, let's say you got fired. It's June of this year. You get fired from your job. Rent's due next month. You have 30 days to get that money. Instead of kind of being frozen in the fear, just realize that today, that day that you found that out and you're leaving the office and going to your car with your stuff in your box, you could start a new business before you even get home. You could learn a new skill that day and start something new. So that's what I guess my final send off would be in the recession is just don't forget the fact that you learned what you do now and that you were able to do that from nothing. You went from zero to where you are now. So you can do that again. And so just move, keep moving.
Yeah. Fear is the enemy, and obviously we're all humans, but in the end we got this, so stay strong, you creatives out there. And I would say this was a good podcast episode. Thank you, Sean, for being on the Creative Infinite podcast.
Wow, he's gonna give me a lot of grief. Yeah, so for
no, I'm just messing.
Leave a comment on every episode where I say it wrong, so we can get a good idea of how, because I've said it wrong many times in this podcast. But thank you, my friend. You're always a great podcast host as well. So I think, we're going to keep this going, man. We have some exciting ideas. So
and February will be very interesting too. Hint, hint.
Well, cool. Well, thank you, everyone. Be creative, be brave, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.